I am Couch Coop and welcome to my comparison video, the PlayStation 4 Pro against the PlayStation 5 version of GTA 5. Interesting one because I've been looking around on the internet, couldn't find anything. Everything's base level PlayStation 4, and I know there's a load of Pro owners out there. I'm obviously an ex and current Pro owner. I had to get a few things moved around to do this, but let's first of all just make sure we're all clear that I'm going to be using the Performance RT mode on the PlayStation 5 version of this game in all comparisons. I feel that's important because the game is at 60 frames per second over on the PlayStation 5, and of course in that fidelity mode it can dip quite low, so I want to make sure everything's pegged and looking normal because we're going to be putting it up against the PlayStation 4 Pro's performance, which to be fair, pretty damn strong. I remember when the Pro came out and this game announced some of its enhancements that were exclusive to that machine, and they were damned amazing. But just really quickly before we look at that ambient light against that smoke, straight up you know you're on the 5 when you see stuff like that going on. Let's get to the smoke and tire squeals, because I was really rocked when I first saw the comparison videos with some of the base level machines with this smoke, but the Pro kind of bosses it. Other areas, however, where the 5 version has got blatant implemented new stuff, like the persistent glass that hangs around on the bonnets, that is also around in crashes and smashes and gunfire, so that does kind of increase the excitement a bit. First thing you also notice with the fire is massive detail on the 5. This has been highlighted before, and there's that smoke density. We don't see much on the Pro version on improvements with that fire. It just runs a bit smoother than it does on the base level PlayStation 4. Now, reflections on water gobsmacked me a bit because personally there's not a massive difference between these two, and the panning was super smooth on both of these machines. What I want to point out is there is some bounce on the line underneath the surface of the water next to that jet ski, and there is of course some bigger HDR implementation on the PlayStation 5 and just a broader range of colours, but these two scenes are not too dissimilar. Bit of a frame drop here over on the left when we come out of that cam mode, but that's kind of to be expected, and really the only bit of major frame dip that we see in this entire video from the Pro. Another thing is shadows and crispness of shadow edge or blended edges to the shadows with that ray tracing increased. Measuring this one is not too big of a gobsmacker. I don't find that ray trace shadows dramatically increasing this game in the daytime. The nighttime and the reflection stuff is a whole different kettle of fish. Let's look at this driving. Pro has always handled this well, but one thing to notice is very far into the distance there is some granular detail loss when assets are getting pushed into that map at full speed. And another thing is finding a car, the same one in two different save files in the same spot, and trying to get the time of day right was quite difficult, but the results are pretty cool. Of course we do see a different tint on the right hand side because of that HDR and because it's a slightly different time of day.
Only have yourself to blame.
These depths of field effects work surprisingly well. Look really healthy on both systems. I wasn't sure if that DOF was put in on maybe an update a while ago, because when it rolled out on the base level PlayStation 4 we didn't really get that a lot, and I think it's something that's been added as the game's got a little bit older. I went flying and of course tried to recreate an identical flight path, but again quite difficult, and of course the time of day is a little bit adjusted, but we do see some of that beautiful blending with that distance and smog and light on the PlayStation 5. When you're dealing with high resolutions or better textures everywhere, you can get smoother differences in color, and it's so obvious here. I've cheated and it's kind of dusk and I'm getting better shots, but this is where it all sort of comes together. Lovely lock frame rates, some brilliant lighting effects, reflections in the skyscrapers, whole thing looks a next level up.
Southern Hill Hill.
A little bit of combat on the pier. I wanted to compare the two, and of course you might be thinking this isn't the deepest of dives, Coop, and I may save that for another time because the evening and the rain and some of the shadows and reflections that have been put on the 5 version, which I've covered in some of my greatest looking PlayStation 5 lists, are really worth looking at. But from what we've got on a surface level, i.e. when you boot the game up and just clap eyes on it, is a little bit more dramatic than I made out. I really slated this game for rolling out another version and charging us more money again, but I've been really surprised at how much I've found that's actually different. The back of the box doesn't do it justice with that much more bollocks. Seeing this game in its true 4K on the fidelity mode and then going to that performance RT as an option when things get really hectic, and it's still smooth as butter and absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I've been Couch Coop. I'll see you down there.
Wake the fuck up, samurai.